Hey guys, Sandy Sidhu here. Before we get started with today's episode, I just wanted to share some information with you. If you haven't already, I'd love if you check out Thrive Hive, the community for next generation women entrepreneurs. It's a great place to connect, collaborate, and learn from other women entrepreneurs. So if you're about to launch a new product, service, or website, you'll be able to get feedback, test out your ideas. So check it out at www.sidekickpm.com/thrivehive. And now for today's episode. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of The Unstoppable Entrepreneur. This week I'm really excited to be speaking to Luz Garcia-Pennock of LovelyGalPosh. She's going to share with us her entrepreneurial journey from corporate world to now running her own business, the lessons she's learned, as well as some of her tips for those of you out there who are just starting out. So welcome, Luz. Thank you so much for joining me today. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sandy, thank you so much. It's been exciting to know that I'm going to interview with you, and I've been a little bit excited and nervous today, but it's all good. Telling you about myself. My name is Luz Garcia-Pennock, and I'm originally from Mexico. I won't give you my whole life spill, but I came to this country when I was 11, so I've always had this hunger for knowing that I've had a second chance at life, to be able to have an education, to be able to make my dreams come true. So knowing that, I got my bachelor's and my master's, I always wanted to reach for having my business one day. So that's when I decided this back May to start my company, LovelyGalPosh, focusing on helping women in their life voyage and discovering what is not serving them and what is, to be able to reach their dreams. And as of later on this year, carving my niche to be my sweet spot in providing my services to companies of that same life voyage, but discovering as a company the strengths of their team through looking at strategies of performance and also synergy of employees being happy as well.
So it sounds like you kind of have two things going here. One is still more related to, let's say, your corporate skill set, and then the secondary where it's kind of something you're also passionate about.
Yeah, you make a good point. One of my passions has always been to help women, and I think it very humbly honest, it comes from also feeling my emotional bank account. And it came very clear to me that, that is serving a purpose to the world. And however, to find my niche, I need to be able to, find that sweet spot as you have, to be able to provide my services where there's also needs, where there's abundance of, like having that niche to pay for my services. And companies have a lot of opportunities where, there's strategies of performance and also keeping their employees happy so they perform well. Mm-hmm. And that's what I did a lot in corporate America through my over 10 years of corporate America. So I'm coaching now in companies, executives, and also doing training to align with that.
So you, in your corporate life, you worked in, if I understand correctly, in an HR role. So how would you say those skills, like you must have seen a wide variety of skills along in the people that you were placing in your company. How would you say that those skills what are some of the skills that you've seen that are really important for entrepreneurs?
The universal skills that I see from people that have been very successful in the years that I worked for companies like Mattel, Target, Pier 1 Imports. And I'll say number one is resilience. Resilience in whatever area you are in life, whether it's your personal or also in your career, whether your career is working for a company as a leader or in your own company, to have resilience to go out at it the long way, to be able to reinvent yourself, to be able to not be able to be able to bend without breaking, to be able to reach your dreams. That's like one of them where I have people fail, but it wasn't a fail of lessons. Sometimes get really, really stuck in not being resilient and looking at it long term.
Mm-hmm. So as an entrepreneur, you'd say that you'd have to wear many of those hats. Like, it's not like you're just, you may be the specialist in web design, but unless, you have a team supporting you, you've got to go out there and be doing the sales. You might have to do your invoicing in the beginning. So it's like a mishmash of many skill sets.
Yes, you know what, that's one of the things that as you start your business, you're able to identify within your strengths and what things are needed. For instance, like you said, marketing, establishing relationships, the things that sometimes we don't like to do, like the bookkeeping and that, to be able to really quick adapt to what the needs are and find out if you're going to do it for the meantime because you're bootstrapping it, or if you need help, then providing that help, but not staying too long with, let's say, the stack of, not bills, but receipts that haven't been, put into a spreadsheet, for instance, to be able to look at how you're doing with your business forecasting.
Mm-hmm. And that's definitely different when you do leave the corporate world and strike out on your own, because in the corporate world, you may just be solely focused on that one task. Let's say, using our web design example, you might just be building those websites. Whereas all of a sudden, once you're on your own, you also have to not only take care of building the websites, but you probably in the beginning have to find those people who you're going to build websites for.
Yes, one of the things, like, for instance, finding you and knowing that, I've come to a place in my business where, okay, I'm good with, basic WordPress, but I don't know a lot about inserting certain plugins or what the best plugins are. Knowing that when you need to reach for some help, it needs to be done quickly, because, you can be working on something and learning for a while, but if that's not your key core, skill set, strength, you're going to be struggling and wasting time, and time is precious, every day's a gift.
Mm-hmm. And so how did you transition from that corporate world to, being an entrepreneur? Like, did you just take the leap and decide one day, or were you kind of doing something on the side and then slowly transitioned over? What steps did you take?
It was about a year of transitioning and knowing that I wanted to do coaching for women that needed a kickstart in their life and in different areas. So then how can I do that while I'm still working full time? Well, I offered workshops at people's homes. It's like a Mary Kay party, let's say, but I did workshops about once a quarter to be able to have women where I started following, creating relationships, and they would also be able to long-term be able to see about my services and spread the seeds of, their words of wisdom about, how I help them. So that's what I did for about a year, and then I decided then, after taking a job at Oakley, after a month being there, I knew that I needed to have not gone to Oakley, but I already started as an entrepreneur. But I think one of the lessons learned too is knowing that sometimes we fight it, but eventually it will happen sooner than later. And it's almost like you'll be pushed, but don't wait to be pushed, because when I accepted the job at Oakley, I was like, yes, I'm going, I'm excited. But after a month, I honestly told my boss, this is not meant for me. I need to start my business now. So I worked there for 4 months, and I eventually just pushed myself to where I needed to leave,
Mm-hmm.
And all in good terms, but knowing that, what, I need to do it. I need to start my business.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned just earlier about getting help in your business, and if it's something that you're not an expert in, instead of wasting many cycles trying to figure out, just, reach out to people. What were some of the things that you had to learn right away, like whether it was technology-wise or business skills? Could you share some of those with us?
Yeah, a lot of it that I had to learn right away is getting comfortable with social media and knowing, for instance, with social media, what works with what doesn't, to be able to spend time in it, but you're not just doing busy work. I needed to learn how to not do just busy work, that's not allowing to help, grow my business. I needed to learn how to deal with, a lot for me has been WordPress, learning how to use WordPress and how to be able to add different things to it that I didn't know how to do. I needed to learn how to build relationships that were farther than just like friendships, because I'm naturally someone that has friends that, I love and they love me, but I needed to learn how to ask for work, for business in a way that was natural, that I think that people that are amazing at sales do it, you know? Mm-hmm. So that's one thing that I needed to do. As far as things with technology, how to be able to set up, you know, videos, to be able to interview women as well. And that's something that I wasn't really comfortable doing. And one of the things that I learned from like listening to your, I don't know which one was it, but it's like knowing that from your posts and your videos that it needs to be really good quality right away from the beginning. You know, of course, like, you know, that's natural, but sometimes I think when we're starting in our own business, you know, we want to move fairly quickly, but being able to take a pause and see how things are going.
Mm-hmm. And what were some of the resources that have helped you? Like you mentioned, you know, social media and WordPress. Like, do you have some did you take coaching or did you were you reading online? Like, what were some of the things that really helped accelerate that for you?
I know for me, the blogs that I go to is you know, Natalie Season. And then that's one because she's got a lot of techie tools and, like resources you can use on social media. And also your blog because you have that entrepreneur meets like high tech girl, like high five, I want to say. So that helped me a lot because I'm not naturally someone that, you know, will be able to like know even what is the tool that I use. I know that I'm good at is being able to go to people that are good at, so then I can look at what you're using based on your blogs that you do, sharing about what you do.
Mm-hmm. I think that's important as well because at some point, you know, you want to focus on what you're really good at and not spend hours and hours on Google, you know, trying to search for the perfect solution. You might as well go to people who are providing those examples and saying, you know what, hey, I spent those hours already and now I'm going to give you like the cream of the crop and you just run with it kind of thing.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. You know, that's a good point because it's like these ladies already, you know, it's like that's their bread and butter. You know, it's like, let's see what they're doing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And now you mentioned like coaching women and stuff. So what tools are you using regularly on a daily basis in terms of like technology? Do you do remote coaching? Are you doing it face to face? Like how does that work?
You know, with the women, the coaching is down through, like, for instance, I talked to a lady yesterday and she doesn't have a camera on her computer. So we did it regular through the phone, you know, mm-hmm. And I've done face to face with women that are in my community where we meet at a Starbucks, you know, that has a really nice fountain close by. So when it's in person, it's like, a must that it's in a place that is a good environment, you know. I've done it also through Skype as well and through Google Hangouts. So Google Hangouts and Skype have been really good as far as being able to do those coaching conversations with the women.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like you're pretty agile in the sense that you're not just stuck in one way and that if your client doesn't have a webcam, it's not like, oh no, we can't do this. It's like, let's go old school, pick up the phone and talk. So you're able to adjust your services and how you work with people based on their comfort level as well.
Yes, you got it. That's so important, I think, you know, because sometimes we, you know, with technology being amazing, you know, we want to do it that way and that's great. But I think it's important that if I'm going to help this person, it's got to be, that's the only way I'm going to be able to help her at this time, you know. Perhaps 3 months from now, she'll have a computer with a camera. But for now, this is it.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And so, as you've made this transition from the corporate world to the entrepreneurial world, looking back, are there things that you would have done differently? Or if someone who's listening right now is kind of on the fence and just like, oh man, you know, I really want to make the leap, how would you suggest that they do things like that can maybe help them move faster?
I think one of them is having a 30-day action plan for what will birth in 30 days, you know, because of course within a business, you know, you have different aspects like, you know, for instance, you, Sandy, being a project manager guru, it's like there's different aspects that we have that are going to be kicking off, right? So being able to do the long-term plan of whether it's your year plan and then putting the different projects in buckets. I'm very visual, so I have to do it that way, but I didn't do it, and it didn't help me be able to birth things faster. It's almost like doing your big plan with the names of the areas that you need to kick off, the social media, the website, building relationships. Now it's like asking for sales, and how does that look like in a mini plan for each? What are you going to do, in this month to be able to have at the end of the month actionable items done, and then next month. So it's like evolving every month and in front of you.
Mm-hmm. And like you mentioned, some of the skills that you had to learn, for example, whether it was like marketing, relationship building, you can do this while you're still employed. Like you can take advantage of the fact that you still have your day job and kind of, you don't have to do it at work necessarily. If there's overlap in what you're doing at work and what you want to do after, that's great. But you can do this after work in the evenings, take these extra courses, read things online. You don't necessarily have to wait until you've left your job to start learning.
Yeah, you make a good point, because for me, I think I was at that point, like I make sure that, okay, I needed to leave in order to be able to start my business, right? So I left this amazing company, but then after that, it's been a few months of, bootstrapping it, and also knowing that I had a savings, with my husband, and we used that savings, but, at the end of the day, I would have put more of a plan of starting to see clients before, and having a streamline that was coming in part-time before quitting my job.
Mm-hmm. I think that's definitely one of the things I like to tell people is that, we think that we need to put all these things in place, like have a website, have a business card, have all these things before we start validating our problems. And I think if, someone who's listening is like, oh yeah, I'm not happy with my 9-to-5 job anymore, I want to become an entrepreneur. It's like you can start testing the market, just get out there, start talking to people, see what solutions you could provide to their problems, and then start working it a bit on the side. I think that could definitely work.
That's true, because that's something that you can strategically do, based on your work schedule. You don't want to be working still 11 hours a week, 11 hours a day in your work, being able to say, okay, what am I going to do to start being able to see clients, whether it's like, once in the weekend, once a week in the evening, because people are working in the day, if that's your clientele, or during lunch, to where you don't like stress yourself out, but you can start creating that. And that is really important, One of my first client that I got within now the performance and engagement coaching that I do for companies, that's where the direction of my business is going. I didn't even have a website, because I love doing that training. It was around the time that I was already putting the ideas of a website together. One of my former colleagues from Mattel, she called me and said, this company needs this training, and are you interested? So that's how my business started. It was before she called me, I had already put together the name of the business in this paper and what I wanted to do, and then I got a phone call. So the owner of the company, the CEO, I'm sorry, he hasn't even asked to see a website. Because of the fact that I have built that relationship with my former colleague at Mattel, that spoke like thousands,
And I think also too often we discount our past experience. Like even if you're transitioning, your day job and what you're going to be doing as an entrepreneur is slightly different, what you've done in the past still counts for something. It's not like you're starting from scratch. You still have years of experience working in the corporate world. You still have those things that you can refer to, or if you have other projects that you've worked on for people, you could say, hey, I did this, I did that. So it's not like you're just starting from ground zero.
Yeah, that's true. And you make a great point, because it's important that you grab, recognitions, the kudos from those people that know you did amazing in those projects while you're still in corporate America, and not wait too long, because they're still fresh in their mind, and they're to provide you, for instance, a LinkedIn recommendation. I make sure that I had those throughout the years, but even like the last year, if you notice in my LinkedIn, the last few months, I got more of those because I knew that I was going to need them, and I didn't want to ask like later on, out of like, now I need them. I wanted to be proactive.
Mm-hmm. Great. And it even goes back to the whole building relationships as you go. Like networking doesn't just start like, okay, I'm an entrepreneur today, let me go network like crazy. You know, I read it in a book that I can't remember the title. It's like you build your network before you need it. You know, you just always be networking, building relationships. And then when you make that transition to entrepreneur and you want to start working for people, it's not like you're starting cold turkey and it's like, okay, great, I got to find people. It's like, no, now I'm going to turn to these people I already know and say, hey, you know, so-and-so, I'm doing this now. Would you happen to know? Or are you like, it's not from zero.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, because those people are going to be there for you later on as they see you grow their business. You know, they might be a client later on, or they might know somebody, you know, that needs that type of service that you have. And of course, you're going to know that they're your network, so you're going to provide them, for instance, the e-flyer online or the website information so they can spread the seeds of what you do.
Absolutely. Well, I really love the advice that you shared. Is there anything else in closing that you'd like to share with people, where they can find you online, perhaps?
You know what? One of the things really quick that I wanted to share is, you know, if you have been a corporate employee for a long time, there's certain different things that go on in corporate America. You know, there's a lot of course, demand for excellence, and a lot of times it's the high performing that you're going to be doing, but it's within a team, the expectations. And a lot of times we focus, you know, more on the negative than the good. It's just natural, you know? So remember to be changing the tape to like positive storytelling. Don't pigeonhole yourself on certain words that, oh, I can't do this or I can't, because those things are not going to come from creating. You know, if you know you can't do something, think, okay, I don't know how to do something. I'm going to call this person who knows how to do it, or I'm going to pick up a book or take an e-class. But remember not to let that be an excuse that you don't move forward.
That's awesome.
My website that I want you to check out is, well, my main website of my brand is www.LovelyGalPosh.com. My website of my services that I'm providing for companies about employee engagement and performance is www.happylyworking.com.
That's awesome. I'll be sure to share those in the summary so people can click through and find you on social media as well. It's been awesome chatting with you, and I wish you all the best in your entrepreneurial journey.
Thank you so much.